How are you doing today, my fellow Shinobi? In today's video, I have for you guys the top 4 best attack classes to use in Naruto to Boruto Shinobi Striker. Now remember, this list is my own opinion, so if you see your class not in here, I apologize, but feel free to drop it down below in the comments and let me know what class you run and what build you run. I always love to know. So without further ado, let's get it. So starting off, I should mention I use the same gear and perks on all my attack-based classes, so you are going to see some similarities. Maybe in another video I can go over some of the other classes, but for now, let's just take a look at the attack. For the outfit, we have the attack outfit you get from the item shop from 1010. For my top skill, I use Tenacity Rising, which boosts your ninjutsu ability to cancel other ninjutsu and ninja tools. So say you're in a 1v1 situation and someone hits you with a Majestic Destroyer, and you try to hit them with a Lariat. Now, you're probably not going to win that fight, but having this perk on your top clothing outfit will guarantee that you will turn into a tank against that Majestic Destroyer. It's really good against any physical ninjutsu attacks, and it's one of my top favorite perks in the game. Next, we have for the bottom skill, Out of Thin Air. Out of Thin Air shortens your ninjutsu cooldown time, so you will be able to sub much quicker. Very useful and very beneficial for close combat players especially. For the last perk, I have Back from the Brink, which basically just makes your respawn faster. It's up to you if you prefer for yourself to have the last skill, Back from the Brink, on. It isn't necessarily a requirement, but it isn't too bad when you're trying to get back in the fight quicker. Now, before we get started on the ninjutsu, I do have to mention I am going to be a little biased on this one because this is my main class and I do really love this class. But it is a really amazing and underrated class in my opinion nonetheless, which is why I want to talk about it with you guys right now. So, let's get started. First off, we got the Sharingan. The Sharingan grants the user an additional substitution, meaning that once activated, the user will automatically switch out and jump behind your opponent, while your opponent is focused on the clone. And guys, I don't have to express how crucial it is in this game to have an extra sub. I don't really see too many people often running Sharingan, but pairing it with something like the Resengan makes this a deadly class. Moving on, speaking of the Resengan is a very deadly class to use. The Resengan is a very honestly heavy underrated jutsu in my opinion. I don't really see too many people running the Resengan, but pairing this with the Sharingan makes it deadly for surprise attacks. If you use Sharingan to sub out of an attack, you can use the Resengan to hit your enemy while he's distracted by your clone. It makes this build very dangerous to go up against because it is so good with damage, guys. Plus, it does feel really satisfying blasting your enemies back with this move. Next, we have Clay Clone. Now, you can pick any clone you want, but I highly suggest Clay Clone because it has such high damage when enemies try to attack your clone and then they get blasted back. When the enemy just jumps towards your clone, they get blasted back and then you can instantly combo back with the Resengan, and if they try to counter that, you can get out of that with the Sharingan. It is just OP and super underrated. And finally, for the ultimate, I like to use Chroma Link mode. It is a super balanced ultimate. It is so unlikely and so rarely do you ever see ultimates being balanced in this game. You have OP ultimates that we will get into in future videos, and I do want to make its own video on ultimates. But for right now, let's focus on Chroma Link mode. Now, Chroma Link mode enhances the user's speed, strength, and cooldown on all ninjutsu. Once activated, you basically have an unlimited amount of clay clones, any water clone, you're basically invincible. You're basically untouchable at this point. And I could go over the Chroma Link mode on its own, but I'm going to save that for a future video as well. You also have multiple Resengans at your disposal. And in its second form, if you hit the button again to activate the ultimate again, you shoot a laser beam, which obliterates anyone in its path. It is a little easy to get out of if you have a Sharingan or if you are really good at dodging, but paired well, it can be super deadly and super effective in a 1v1 situation. For the next build, we have Chroma Twin Impact, Flying Rajan level 2, and for the Super, we're going to be running Boruto Strike, and I'll explain why in a second, and of course we have Clay Clone. I like Chroma Twin Impact for more of a setup combo or for clearing out a large number of enemies in PvE. Twin Impact is a jutsu that takes a miniature tailed beast palm and smashes it into the ground with a giant Chroma hand. dealing massive amounts of damage, launching your opponents into the air, and it can even be tethered with other jutsus, such as my personal favorite, Flying Rasen level 2. Moving right into the slot of Flying Rasen level 2, Flying Rasen level 2 is a jutsu that allows you to throw a kunai at your enemy, teleporting above him, then hitting him with the Resengan. What I personally love about this build is that once you hit the enemy with the twin impact, immediately after they launch in the air, you can hit them with the Flying Rasen level 2, and you will deal an additional amount of damage, as you can see in the gameplay below. You can get Twin Impact from Adult Naruto DLC and Flying Rasen level 2 from the Minato DLC. Moving on to Boruto Strike. Boruto Strike is a super that sends out 3 shadow clones to trap your enemies, then kicks them into the air while you throw a giant Resengan at the enemy. Now, I feel this is going to be a little bit of a debated one because a lot of people I've talked to about the game say that this is probably one of the worst supers in the game. And while it's not the best super in the game, I'd argue it has some good things, if not great things about it. So first, we'll talk about the good. Now, this super has a ton of flaws for sure, like being able to escape it easily, being able to dodge it easily, not connecting all the time. But one thing that sets it apart from the rest of the other supers is its speed and combat flow. By getting your enemy in a combo, you can input Boruto Strike to the end of your combo, making this a very super high damage super. It can also damage multiple enemies if you get 2 or more stuck in the attack. This was actually one of my first builds I used when I first started the game, so go try it for yourself and let me know what you think down below. Moving on, I have kind of a Minato build going on right here. As you can see, we have Flying Rasen level 1, Resengan, play clone of course, and for the super we have Rasen Super Circle Dance House Stage 3. This one, guys, is one of my most fun builds to use in the game by far. You really get that yellow flash feel from this build. So starting off, we have Flying Rasen level 1. Flying Rasen level 1 is a jutsu where you place a kunai down marking the area, making it possible for you to teleport back to the marked kunai. I see this jutsu being used a lot in flag battle, and for a very good reason too. It's not only good in combat and evading, but also good for grabbing flags and bases too for that matter in base battle. For the Resengan, I won't go too much into it since we covered a lot of it in the first build. However, I do want to explain how you can implement Resengan with Flying Rasen level 1. First, what I love about this is after you place the kunai down, your close range attack speed, meaning that close combat with the Resengan is going to add even more damage, and your close range combat in general is boosted tremendously. Clay clone is my personal choice, but the option is always up to you. Water clone is a good one, lightning clone. Any other clones, any other substitutions are going to be very good for this build. For the super, we have Rasen Super Circle Dance House Stage 3. This did recently receive a nerf, so it's not as damage outputting as it used to be. However, nevertheless, it's still a really great super. The user is granted multiple kunai, launching them all towards the enemy in its path, dealing very high damage. Guys, I cannot express how many times I've jumped into a game with me and my friends, and we would just be winning, we'd be dominating, we'd be killing everything, and then the next thing you know, we just get hit with Rasen Super Circle Dance House Stage 3, and the game is just over, and we lost. It is a super effective super, and it does insane amount of damage, and it takes out multiple people, which is ridiculous to me, but this is still one of my favorites, nevertheless. Finally, we have our last build, which is just going to be straight Taijutsu based. Next to the Minato build, this is going to be my second favorite build to use, simply because of how fast you can combo with this setup. First off, we have Leaf Rising Wind. Now, Leaf Rising Wind is great because of its range and a hitbox. Attacking an enemy from a medium range will guarantee a astonishing blow to your enemy, knocking them up in the air, allowing you to connect this jutsu with other attacks. Next, we have Dynamic Entry, which you can get from My Guy's DLC, and propelling yourself into a forward quick kick makes this a great assist to Leaf Rising Wind, being able to connect your other combos and other various attacks. Really great in damage and really great for connecting with supers. Speaking of supers, we have Boruto Strike once again. I put this back on here because I really like the quickness and the quick combo that you can use from Leaf Rising Wind, the Dynamic Entry, to Boruto Strike. It's really good for a quick combo, and it causes a massive amount of damage to your enemies. This is personally one of my top favorite builds of all time. I love this build so much, and this is actually one of the first builds that I used right after Chroma Twin Impact, right before Chroma Twin Impact, my bad. Thank you guys for watching the video. Feel free to leave a comment and like. It really helps the channel grow. And let me know down below what you guys would like to see me do next. Till then, peace out, my fellow Shinobi. And y'all stay safe out there. For real, for real.